What up, Viking fans? And thank you again for tuning in to the Skol State of Mind podcast. As you already know, I'm your host, D Woods. And guess what? The Vikings have just finished their first preseason game against the Houston Texans. And y'all know what that means. That means the regular season is right around the corner. But before we get into anything else, I'm going to give you guys my initial thoughts on this game, what I've been thinking, things I've been coming up with. So let's get into it. Look, so the Vikings convincingly beat the Texans 20-10. I mean, it's preseason, so you really can't get high about, it was a blowout, whatever. It's just a preseason game, and preseason and training camp is basically all about development. And preseason is really out there for guys that might be on the roster bubble and guys, who can just come out of nowhere like Adam Thielen or Stephon Diggs back in the day. So I'm going to let you guys know, my initial thoughts on the game was I was so happy to basically see J.J. McCarthy for the first time, in a quote-unquote real game. I understand this isn't the first regular season game, and it is preseason, but it's been a year since we've actually seen him, in a quote-unquote real NFL game. Not training camp, not practice, a regular game. I mean, shit, not the college title game. So I was happy to see him actually come on the field, do his thing, look healthy, shake the rust off. That was a really, really good feeling. But we're going to talk more about this game, about J.J. McCarthy and other things too. But the first thing I want to get off to is actually injuries. And I know you guys saw it out there. Rondale Moore suffered I would say, catastrophic injury. He had to get carted off, during the game. You can see his frustration on his face, put the towel over his head and hitting, the damn golf cart or whatever. It's really unfortunate. And I do understand that injuries are a part of the game. But when we're just talking about Rondale Moore, this is why I wanted to give this, some time. It's he's been battling these season injuries for some time now. And it takes a lot out of a player and a person, mentally to having to go through that. So I would say my prayers are with him. I hope he can make a speedy recovery and he can come back to the player that he was. But we still don't know what the injury is or what, the timetable is going to be. But it just sucks for him to be, on pace to basically make this team and contribute. And when I say contribute, a lot of people out there don't understand how important the kick return and punt return jobs are, of actually getting some kind of yardage or actually being a threat. And I kind of felt this offseason that, he was going to be that guy to kind of solidify those positions. And now, with the possibility of him basically not playing this season, it creates a void. But like I said before, it's prayers off to him. Hopefully he can get back. But as I always say, it's that Pete Carroll mentality, next guy up. So let's dive inside the offense. Now, this is what I saw from the offense and what I liked. And it was basically the first drive with J.J. McCarthy. I saw Kevin O'Connell basically depend on the run a little bit. Now, it's great in the preseason that he's doing this. I want to see this, be the game plan going forward. And I think it is, considering, the offseason moves that were made and, solidifying the offensive line in the middle and bringing in Jordan Mason and, re-signing, Aaron Jones for another year. So I think they will, depend on the run a little bit. But I can see that Kevin O'Connell is going to take the running game serious this year. I just want him to stay consistent with it. But more about the offense, I just felt it was a little bit of jitters out there, of guys, having to actually hit another jersey for the first time, which is cool. But I just know what you guys here for. Y'all really want to talk about how I feel about JJ McCarthy's big return. And I'm going to say big return because we didn't know he was going to play preseason to like later this week. And he played. I was impressed of what I saw from McCarthy. I really saw his command with the offense, in and out the huddle. I saw him make mistakes and not get rattled. And that's a big thing with me. Like, if you follow the channel, I'm big on, hey, if you make mistakes, you're going to learn more from your mistakes than you're going to learn from like anything else, basically. And if you can have that mentality to where you can make a mistake, learn from it, and just move on, especially in football, because the bullets are flying in this next play. He made a couple of mistakes and, moved on. I mean, that run for the first down, that's golden. And what I mean by that's being golden, that's something that's going to make defenses, respect him. They're going to have to respect his legs, because it might take him some time to kind of develop the touch on the ball or, throw it hard, in this window. He's going to learn that. And we can't, as fans say he needs to learn that right now. And basically what we can't do as fans, and I got to say this right now, what we can't do as fans, we can't compare McCarthy to what other quarterbacks did last year. Jaden Daniels had a great season, and that's Jaden Daniels' great season. So we can't go out there and be like, well, McCarthy isn't doing this or doing that. He's developing at his own pace, and we got to be patient as fans and let that happen. But what I saw for him within that drive, it's the growth, and I see the command, and I think we really have a franchise quarterback. I mean, I understand the bumps and bruises are going to come, but hey, we got Jason McCarthy. I trust it. I trust Kevin O'Connell, going forward. But just to keep talking about the quarterbacks, one quarterback, like I would say, like I was highly impressed with and I really wanted to see was Sam Howell. And I expressed on this channel before that, you guys know I'm a California native, so I'm not attending the training camp. And, a lot of my content is basically, I get my research from a lot of different external sources, the internet, blogs, whatever, right? So the talk with camp was basically like Sam Howell might get traded. Sam Howell, he ain't going to be the quarterback too. Like it was just, he was having a bad camp. And I was happy to see Sam Howell come out and look like the number 2 quarterback on this team. I'm not saying that, he was 100% perfect, but he showed that he can be a backup quarterback in this league. And that's like not the one thing. That's one of the biggest things I love about actually watching the games and not depending on everything else, because you can kind of see for yourself, like, yo, this dude, he can actually play, and it's not really like a lot of opinions before you actually see it. We all seeing the shit in real time. And I was impressed by Sam Howell coming out there and doing this thing. And it's like, what do you expect from a backup quarterback? You get what I'm saying? Like, what is a backup quarterback supposed to do? Backup quarterback should be a person that can come in there if something happens to the number 1 cornerback, in a pinch, he can come in there and get a first down. Or if the starting quarterback is gone, for multiple games, he can probably win you at least 60% of those games. Like we got to stop having this idea that the backup quarterback has to be, 100% perfect. And I look at it like this: if you feel like the backup quarterback needs to be perfect in everything, then maybe that is a quote unquote starting quarterback, because there's a reason why he's backup quarterback, because he has some kind of deficiencies or whatever. It could be age, it could be development, it could be whatever, but it's a backup quarterback. But just to keep going on the backup quarterbacks, yo, Brosmer, he looked good out there, man. He looked real good out there. I understand he had extended time, but man, he looked real good out there. And this is probably one of the first times me personally can actually say, all right, KOC, I can see you developing guys in the background just in case. Because I was always giving pushback about, yo, what's really going on with this, quarterback camp and Kevin O'Connell being a whisperer. And if Max can go out there and keep playing like he is and, make this roster as an undrafted free agent and be the third quarterback, shit, if not the second quarterback, hey, I gotta give credit where credit is due. So that's enough about the offense. So let's just bounce around and get back on the defense report. All right, look, back to the training camp situation. Training camp, it was just like mad shit. Everybody talking about training camp is basically, the defense is just having a way. Defense is nasty. Boom, boom, boom. I wasn't impressed with the defense on the first drive. I wasn't impressed. Now, don't get mad at me. I know what you're going to say. Yo, but the second string defense was in there. Hey, I heard the defense was nasty all the way around. I didn't hear only the first string defense was nasty. I heard everybody on defense was playing hard. So I wasn't impressed because I felt like, the Houston Texans was doing whatever they wanted to do within that first drive. Yeah, the defense tightened up later on in the game, but hey, it is what it is. It's just going to be interesting for me to see what's going to happen and hear what's going to happen, during these joint practices. Are we going to hear that the defense is just as dominant against the Patriots? Are we going to hear that the offense is still struggling against another defense? That's something that we all should be looking forward to next week. I mean, I really can't say much, throughout the rest of the game about the defense, because, it was garbage time. You feel me? Like, they got a couple of picks. They made some great plays. Some guys, stood out. Gabe Murphy basically stood out. And with the Gabe Murphy situation, let's not compare Gabe Murphy's game to basically Dallas Turner's, because Dallas Turner, basically was on limited snaps. Not limited snaps because, he was hurt or nothing, but he's kind of stuck in a unique place to where he's a fringe starter, but he's not a starter. So, starters really don't play. But you just got to, be happy that Murphy came out there and looked like the guy that we thought he was. So that's just that. Now, we talked about special teams a little bit within the Rondale Moore situation, but I think this is something the Vikings got to work on. We have all this talk about the Vikings bringing in a veteran receiver because Jordan Addison is going to be suspended for the first 3 games. But with Rondale Moore basically, out for the season and not going to be able to play, you're going to have to bring in somebody that's going to help out with, the kick return and point return duties, because just like I said earlier in this video, that's a big thing. It shouldn't be glossed over. So I can see the Vikings actually bringing in, maybe another receiver or a running back or somebody, who can basically do one or the two and they figure the rest out. But, special teams, we do have to talk about the kicker. Real Riker didn't miss no kicks. I told y'all before, hey, it's just training camp. You don't know what they were trying out when he missed all those kicks, a couple of weeks ago. But it is what it is. I believe in the kid. When he's healthy, he's lights out. He's a bullseye. So, hey, let's stop panicking. Let's stop finding things to panic about, Let's just stop it. So, overreaction, right? So I'm probably going to dive deeper in another video about this overreaction because I want to kind of like nip it in the bud off the bat. So Donovan Jackson basically had a bad game. Excuse me. And, some people out there are worried that, he might turn into, Ingram. And like, I don't want to hear that shit. This is his first game and he only played basically one series. So let's not overreact on that. Okay, let's not. It's not the same thing all over again. Just like I said before, I think some fans out there just want to find something to complain about. But hey, it ain't even like that. Just let the kid, develop and smooth itself out. If you believe in these coaches, believe the coaches will have these guys ready. Put it like that. Now, looking forward to next week, it's going to be joint practices. And I'm going to admit, I'm a little selfish because I want to see more of JJ McCarthy, in actual preseason games. But I say, like, we probably won't see him, again until the first game against the Bears. But he's going to get a lot of work next week, against these joint practices. Let's hope that Justin Jefferson is actually healthy enough to compete in these joint practices. If he's not, like, it's a big deal, but it's not really, because you don't want to rush him back, whatever. But joint practice is going to be big, and you're going against the Patriots, and Mike Vrabel is a dog of a coach. So, like, if you felt that Brian Flores wasn't going to hold back, well, you should already know that Mike Vrabel ain't going to hold back either. So it should be a great test. And I just really feel like I want to hear good things about the young guys like Donovan Jackson. I want to hear that he's not getting bulldozed and pushed around too much. I want to hear that Dallas Turner is actually, making plays, against another team, stuff like that. And I do understand too, like, when it comes to these joint practices, like, some stuff we're not going to be able to see, and some stuff won't be released. But I just want to hear a lot of good things about the young guys. Now that Rondell Moore is hurt, I think Ty Felton should, make a jump. I really believe in Keenan McCardell as a development type coach. He's been solid for the Vikings in developing young receivers. So, hey, time is the time right now. But, looking forward to those jump practices and, just more content. So that's pretty much all I got for y'all right now as my, reaction, for this first preseason game. It's going to be more to come. And now that we actually can say that bullets are flying now and it's getting closer to the season, it's actually going to be way more things and more ideas and concepts and content to talk about. But you already know how I end it. Skol, baby.